Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going. Oh, and today every single word you're about to hear is my humble opinion. And when I'm done, you have the opportunity to respond with your humble opinion in the comments below or with a YouTube response video. And I'm looking forward to that. Also, what I'm talking about today is in a series, and you can hear. You don't need to watch any of the videos in the series to understand what I'm talking about. You can just watch this one. But if you would like to see the full context, you can watch all the videos. The playlist is right down below. Today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Today we're going to talk about American Dungeon Masters creating modern air raid wardens. Okay? And what this is using Dungeons and Dragons specifically to create American citizens who are prepared to pick up military tasks and do them, right, when America is invaded by Vladimir Putin on July 1st, 2024, which is what I'm predicting will happen. So with me very much believing that's exactly what's going to happen, I want to use the most powerful tool I have to prepare America for invasion by Vladimir Putin. And I think Dungeons & Dragons is the perfect, best, most applicable tool to do that, right? So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to prepare a civilian, our players, who are American civilians, right? And by the way, if you have any, if any of your by the way, if you're a a U.S. military veteran, and your players are all U.S. military veterans, you don't need any of this information. You guys are already preparing in a different way. This is if you're an American dungeon master and you're a civilian and your players are civilians, right? That's where this would take place, right? Because essentially, in my opinion, the American civilians need to be able to repel Vladimir Putin's invasion of the U.S., which I think is coming on July 1st of 2024 for multiple reasons, which I'm not gonna put. I just don't have time in this video to give you all the reasons why it's gonna happen. And so basically, and that means we as dungeon masters can prepare our players to be the first front line against Vladimir Putin when that invasion occurs. And Dungeons and Dragons is perfectly positioned to answer this problem and provide this solution, right? In addition to that. So in order to do this, we need to really start educating our American civilian players about modern warfare, right? And so I've been paying hyper close attention to modern warfare, and I have something that I want. So how do we take Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and use it to prepare people to repel Vladimir Putin's invasion of the United States of America, American players, right? So first of all, we need to understand what the American modern military looks like, and what the Vladimir Putin modern military looks like. So first and foremost, if you're going to understand modern warfare, you really have to understand it from the perspective of air, land, and sea. Okay, modern militaries have air forces, they have land forces, and they have sea forces. Okay, now does Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition do a good job of modeling this? Yes, very much so. A perfect job. All right, so let me explain the books you're going to need to really read in depth, right, to understand all this. All right, so for air, you need to read Fizbans' Treasury of Dragons, right? That book will give you multiple flying weapon platforms. They're called dragons in 100 different shapes in literally every possible, the Drake Warden is a drone, right? The Ancient Red Dragon is a C5, right? A regular adult dragon, that's a fighter jet, right? Like every Air Force unit that you need is modeled in that book, right? And so what do you do for naval? It's 100% covered. It's called Ghost of Saltmarsh. Read it cover to cover. Read Fizban's Treasury of Dragons cover to cover. The Ghost of Saltmarsh is an absolutely fantastic source for explaining ships of every size and shape, every speed, every utility, and it also covers smuggling, right? Which you're highly likely that your American citizen players are going to need to understand smuggling, right? Because they very well may be doing it, right? We're going to, because a Demdov president can bench every single U.S. military soldier. The only people who are going to be in position to save America are American citizens, right? We cannot rely on the U.S. military to fight for us because they can be benched. We already know it. We've already seen it, right? And then last is the infantry, the land. The land is every other source book, and excluding any naval creatures or vehicles in those other source books, and it's covered extensively in Dungeons and Dragons. The one thing I learned, and I'm going to share this with you now, air, land, and sea, right? America covers this. Army, Navy, Air Force. The Marines are incredibly duplicative and superfluous. Why do we still have them? I think the Marines should be shunted immediately into the Navy and should be gotten rid of as a U.S. military service. I think they only exist as an organizational function. I don't think they're actually... Everything they do can be accomplished by either the Army or the Navy, and so they should be a department in one of those services, and our military would be stronger for sucking them in as a drawer on one of those other ones. So we need to start reading these books cover to cover, right? And you don't have to read every 5e book. Pick one, right? Like you can do Eberron or you can do Exandria. Any of the setting books will get your land part done. But you immediately, if you're going to run a modern Air Warden campaign, you need to read Fizbans Treasury of Dragons cover to cover. You need to read Ghosts of Saltmarsh cover to cover. And you need to read one setting book from the context of infantry cover to cover. And then you will be prepared to prepare your American players to be modern American air raid wardens, just like the British did in World War II, which is the model all Americans should be following because it's already set and it's successful. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.